Welcome back to the channel and happy international break to everyone who's watching. I'm sure you're enjoying the week off the Premier League. In fact, we've actually got another week to go. But we're going to start off. We should be looking back at the Premier League. Obviously, the big match last weekend was Arsenal Man City, and Arsenal got the one. We're going to be looking at that. Are they serious challengers this year? Are they improving? We'll be getting into that game. We'll also be looking at the rest of the weekend's action, which seen Spurs beat Luton to go top of the league. And the question is, can they stay there? United struck twice in injury time. They beat Brentford. A huge result, but that it just paper over the cracks. Chelsea have finally won back-to-back games in 2023. Incredible, really, that it's took on the October, but they did beat Fulham and Burnley back-to-back, so we'll be assessing where Chelsea can make a push for the top four. And also Brighton and Liverpool played it in an entertaining 2-2 draw, and we'll be looking back on that. Me and Owen's also going to try and give our season's predictions. Who's going to win the league? Who's going to finish in the top four? Who's going to get relegated? And the domestic cup and Champions League, Europa League, and Conference League winners. We'll also then be previewing.
I think you already know him. Going to say he's going to win the Europa League.
Of course. And then we're also going to be looking at two crunch games for Stephen Kennan in Ireland coming up. Greece tomorrow night, and Gibraltar on Monday night. I'm actually in Portugal for the game, so I'm looking forward to that. Maybe not so much the game, but I'll look forward to the trip. A few days and all before
you might see us win a game.
I know. And the big question is, will the next time Ireland qualify for a major tournament? Could it be Euro 2028, which is coming to the UK and Ireland, which is a massive achievement in itself. So, and before we start, how are you? I know you were under the weather for a few days, but it's good to see you back on your feet.
I'm getting there now. I was sick there for a few days, but back to myself now.
Must be that Liverpool only get 1 point in the last two games. Must have brought that on. I think that's the reality of it. Just brought back down to earth. Let's start off discussing the second part of Super Sunday. It was a big game on the weekend. Everyone was looking forward to it. I mean, before we get into the game, did it really live up to the expectations? We've seen some great games this year, but I think it was fascinating from a tactical point of view. But it didn't produce many chances, many moments of magic. And in the end, a lot of people were saying it was quite underwhelming.
It wasn't a great game for the neutral, especially when it was so hyped up to be the game of the season. And for me, it was probably one of the worst games of the season so far. But Arsenal fans won't care because they ended up getting the 3 points.
How big do you think that match will be in the long run? I've seen a lot of Arsenal fans have saying, that's it. I know they beat City in a couple of cup competitions, and you can point to the Community Shield and penalties, but this was the first time they beat them in the Premier League for 8 years. They'd lost their last 12 games against them. Do you think psychologically now they'll believe themselves that this is going to be their year?
100%. If you beat Man City, you're obviously going to be thinking, right, we can push on now and we can win the league this season where we fell short last season. But it all depends on how Man City respond. And Arsenal are prone to drop points. They a random team here and again, so it'll be interesting to see. But as a neutral, I would love to see Arsenal win it if Liverpool don't, because I just don't like seeing Man City win anything. But it'll be very interesting to see how the rest of the season plays out.
Do you sense that this is an improving Arsenal team? Do you look at this Arsenal team this season and do you think it's better than last year? Do you know squad-wise, even starting 11-wise? And the fact as well that they were able to go toe-to-toe with Man City. And you have to say that Man City paid them a lot of respect. They weren't prepared to open up either. Even in games against Liverpool over the years, you always felt that City kind of opened up in them games. But maybe Arsenal, whereas Liverpool will try and outscore you, Arsenal can approach the game the same. So do you feel that both teams in the end kind of cancelled each other out, and it did take just a deflected strike, they break a deadlock in the end?
As you say, there wasn't many chances, and that deflected shot was really the only big chance that I can remember. And I think for me the big point in the game was Rodri not being there for Man City. Man City are a completely different team when he's not in there, because I think they played Bernardo Silva at defensive midfield, and as we've seen with Liverpool in the early parts of the season, not having an elite defensive midfielder is really costly. And I think that hurt Man City. But as you were saying, for Arsenal to be a better team, I still think they're lacking an out-and-out goal scorer. But they beat Man City. They'll not care. They'll not care a jot at the minute. But I think Arsenal need an out and out striker.
Do you see them going for Ivan Toney in January?
I've seen
And,
a few.
and if they do, does he suit their style of play as well? That's the other thing I would ask.
I mean, like he plays a lot with his back to goal as well, and so does Jesus. And the difference with Tony and Jesus is you would bet on Tony to score nine out of
Careful,
the
careful. That's a very, very sensitive order on Ivan Toney.
10. I didn't even plan that. You would bet on Tony. They score nine times out of 10. So I would say would suit Arsenal style of play.
I mean, when I seen the teams, I assumed that Rico Lewis was going to play at the base where Bernardo Silva played. In the end, he was the most advanced player. And we've seen Pep do things over the years where people say master strokes, and then he's been criticised for, as you say, leaving Rodri out of the Champions League final where they lost to Chelsea.
That was.
Do you think Pep overthought it? Because I've never seen Rico Lewis play as a number 10 before. I mean, he's traditionally a fullback.
I don't think anyone has really seen him as a number 10. But Pep always seems to have something up his sleeves in games against the likes of Liverpool, Arsenal, Man United, and sometimes it does come back to bite him. But he's that good of a manager. Like you expect him to be able to find solutions to these, but Arsenal seem to stifle Man City a lot on Sunday there, and I didn't see Holland do quite a lot. So they definitely nullified Holland, and once you nullify Holland, there's not really much of a goal threat for Man City.
Do you think is Haaland's form becoming a bit concerning now? Not the fact that I think he's lost his ability, because we know what he's like in the box, but he scored 2 against Burnley the opening day, scored a hat-trick against Fulham, and he's only scored 2 goals in the rest of the games, so he's got 2 singles. And like I think I seen last season where Haaland did score 36 goals, broke a Premier League record for how many goals in a season. But a lot of the games he was hitting hat-tricks, and there was 2 against a lot of the smaller sides, so I think it was last season Harry Kane broke a record for the most goals he scored the most goals in them as many. He scored in 28 Premier League games. Haaland scored in a lot less, but just scored more in the games he did. So is that a worry that he's not really popping up with them single goals? It's when they're 2 or 3 up. He's when teams are having to open up, then he's having the beneficiary. We know De Bruyne is missing. So, and as you said on Sunday, he never really had a snuff at all, and his whole supply line was cut off. So, would that be a concern? Where are the goals coming from in this Man City team at the moment?
As I said there, outside Holland, Alvarez pops up a few here and there, but I wouldn't say Foden's a great goal scorer. Grealish isn't a great goal scorer. So I'd say for Pep, he is probably concerned about Holland's form at the minute. But then again, he could just go on a hot streak and score 10 in the next couple of games. So he's that type of player. He just needs one goal, and they just seem to come like buses in. So for Man City, it is a worry, but with Holland, he's guaranteed goals. So I'm sure he'll find his form eventually.
I mean, we looked at the game, and on the outlook of the game now, Man City have lost back-to-back games. They've lost 3 of their last 4 in all competitions. Failed to score against Newcastle. Failed to score against Arsenal. Are they looking a wee bit vulnerable? Are you sensing now that maybe this isn't the force of old? Gary Neville spoke about it's very hard to go again after a treble, playing in all them games. How much they pushed themselves, and they won every game towards the end of last season. Every game, really. Bar the 2 in the league at the end when the league was over. They rested players for the cups. But as you said, we know De Bruyne, Rodri is going to come back.
Yep.
But, Grealish, for whatever reason, isn't playing. Mahrez has moved on. Gundogan, 2 big sources of goals. Is this going to be Pep's biggest challenge since, he come on really? They had that sort of underwhelming first season. But after that, it's really been all ups, trophy after trophy, won a lot of league titles. Are they in a battle now to retain their title? You look at Arsenal, who look as ready as ever. Liverpool look like they're re-emerging. Spurs is still a very big question mark beside them. But whereas in other seasons, it's kind of been like they've only had to beat off one team in terms of the years against Liverpool, and last season against Arsenal. It looks this season like they're going to have more threats, and they might even have to be better than what they were. So, do you sense there is a chance there for someone else?
I've said from the start of the season that they don't strike me as, obviously they're still amazing. They're still going to win the majority of their games, but I said to you at the start of the season, they don't. I don't have the same fear about them as I did in previous years, and I don't know. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because teams are getting better, and as you say, there's more than one team challenging them this season. But I think once they get De Bruyne back and Rodri's going to come back after international break, I think Pep won't accept two losses in a row in the league, and I think they're just going to become the machine that they are. But it'll be interesting to see how they do react to these couple of losses, and maybe the games of last season is catching up on them. We've seen me Liverpool last season. We played a lot of games, and then last season we were awful. So it does have an effect on the next season.
I mean, you look. I hear a lot of people say I'm going to address this when we come to the rest of the games, but Spurs have had quite a easy start. But I look at Man City start, and that was their first. That was their first real test. You know, Newcastle at home, you could say maybe it was, but you expect them to win their home games away from home. Possibly, you could argue it's the best team. The hardest game they could have had away from home. Liverpool fans might argue differently, but based on last season, you would probably say Arsenal away would have been the toughest. But the fact they were so off it, and people were saying about City can build up on early points, but all the other teams around them who've had more difficult games have either got the same amount of points or slightly more. So they haven't really, because if you rightly pointed to, the standards a lot better this year. City are going to have some tough games now between now and January, and we know Man City can put together a run of games, but it's going to be a real test now. These next sort of 7, 8, 9 games, because they're going to have to go. They have to go to Man United. They have to play Liverpool at home, Spurs at home, Chelsea away, who look like they're coming back a wee bit. Still have to go to they play Brighton at home next, which won't be easy. Villa, or they have to play Villa as well. They're going to be in there away from home, I think, as well in December. So they're going to have some tough games against not just only the teams around them, but them other sides. Now they're sort of making it like a top 8, top 9, where you expect them to be challenging. So, I mean, big test coming up for Man City.
Oh, 100%. And I think these last two games against Wolves and Arsenal, it will give teams confidence that they can be got at. I don't think defensively they've been as good as they were. I think in defense too, but that might have a lot to do with Rodri being missing. And when he comes back, he just seems to mop up everything. And as I said at the top of the show, like when you take Rodri out of that team, I know they have Calvin Phillips, but he hasn't played football in the last 2 years. So
I think Phillips is cooked now. I mean, if he was ever going to play, it was going to be in them games where he was out and they were struggling. I think you'll see Phillips moved on in January. Again, it is international week, and I mean, I don't know what this. Maguire hasn't played much. I know we come on for the last game. Phillips hasn't played at all. I wonder are these players going to be keep getting picked, or is Southgate going to say to them, "I need you to get a move in January, even if it's a loan. I need you to play in the run up to the Euros because they are two favourites of his." But I mean, that's massive alarm bells ringing when Rodri's out and he's having to shift Lewis and like an attacking midfield role and playing Bernardo Silva, a winger who can also play as a 10, moved onto the 6 role. He's fighting every way of, and very complicated ways not to play Phillips. So do you think Phillips' days at Man City are over?
It was a very confusing move to me when it first happened because people were saying, I could play him alongside Rodri, but you're never going to displace Rodri from that team. And another thing, it showed because they wanted to sign Declan Rice in the summer.
That was my next point. I was just about to come on to that. Like, now that Rodri's been missing, and we know it isn't an injury, so he is back for the next game. And if he stays fit, then this might not really be an issue. Rodri might come back in, and all of a sudden, he might look very silly on here, if they won their next 12 or 13 games. But I mean, could this be the big difference? Rice was instrumental in that game on Sunday. Whether he would have had the same influence if Rodri was playing, we'll never know. We might find out later in the season if the two meet, but he dominated that midfield for me. He's been Arsenal's best player this season, or maybe him or Saliba. Them two have probably been the two standout. And he looks like he's even getting better and better. United fans have criticised their club for they should have went from last year. Liverpool were looking for us. I was going to say it was the biggest saga of the summer, but there were so many with Casido and Harry Kane as well. But this was definitely one of the bigger ones.
No, we were never going to
be. Could this be? People's talking about the signing of the season, but maybe this isn't being looked at because of the money spent on him. But he's completely changed Arsenal as an outlook for me. What do you think?
Oh, I said once he went on there, he was going to be. I didn't think he would be like this good, but he's a wonder. He's a wonderful footballer, and he could walk on any side, not just in the Premier League, but in Europe. Bayern Munich, for a prime example, they wanted him before he went to Arsenal. Man City wanted him, and they already have Rodri. So that shows how highly rated he is in world football, and he's definitely transformed Arsenal side. And I agree with you. Like he's been their best player, and you can tell like when he gets the ball, all our players in the Arsenal team are just confident that he's going to do something with it. And he's not just a traditional six; he can break forward too. He can assist. He gets the odd goal here and there. So it's
Man
definitely
City will be kicking themselves if it comes down to them and Arsenal do win the league and push them out. I mean, for me, if Man City sign Rice, it completely takes Arsenal out of the picture. Really, I don't think if Rice goes to United, I don't think Arsenal's going to challenge Man City. But I think Rice going to Arsenal makes it almost levels it up now that there's a chance Arsenal could have won it. So even if Man City, and maybe they looked at it and backed themselves, but if Man City if we sign Rice, I don't think Arsenal can sign anyone better than that. Plus, it's an extra body. But maybe Rice was looking at it. Maybe there was talks there, and Rice maybe thought, I don't want to play second fiddle to Rodri. And I don't think Pep would have played the two of them together that often. So do you think he's made the right choice in going to Arsenal, knowing he's going to play every week?
I like he knew he was going to play every, but I think the London factor too was a big thing for him.
Mm.
I think he was already in London. He was settled in London when he was at West Ham, so I think he just wanted to stay in London, and it seems to be a move that's worked out for all parties at the minute. So hopefully, for Arsenal fans' sake, it continues.
I mean, one current controversial moment in the game on Sunday was obviously the Kovacic incident.
Here we go again
Before
with the
we get
referees.
into it too much, what do you think of the first tackle? Do you think it was fair that it was yellow, or do you think
No,
that should have been upgraded to red?
I was sitting watching it, and once it was given a yellow, I was surprised. I thought for me it was worse than the Curtis Jones tackle in the Spurs game. It was certainly worse than the man that got sent off for Chelsea a couple of weeks ago. Gusto was it?
Gusto, Gusto, yeah.
Uh, that was that was that was never a red compared to this one. So I don't know where the referees are how they're coming to these decisions, but for me, it was a definite red card. And
Yeah.
as for the second tackle, I don't know how he wasn't given a second yellow card. So it's very concerning that this is happening week in week out. We're always no matter what good the game is, we're always talking about referees, and it shouldn't be like that.
The first one, from what I understand, was the VAR looked at it, but that didn't deem it as clear and obvious enough to overturn it for a red, right? So we'll come on to that. And then the second one, now this explanation was pathetic, I thought.
No,
But
I was no.
the second one, he doesn't want to get involved and spoil the game. But I mean, he's just bordered on a red card there. For me, that first one could have went either way. I thought it was a red, but if you're going to go with the clear and obvious, I'm going to try and balance this. Maybe,
Yep.
yeah, it's not obvious. It's not a clear mistake. It's bordering on a red, but maybe not a stonewall red for some people. But the second one for me, I mean, if it was an orange card, he would have got an orange card. So I mean, he was always going to be, look, Michael Oliver. I didn't even see. Surely he must have said to him, look, you can't make any more tackles. Not a minute later, because Adam smashes onto a player. He's lit. It's a definite yellow card. And I mean, if he doesn't get if the first tackle doesn't happen, he definitely gets booked for the second one, doesn't he? So
Yep.
I
Yep.
mean, what do you make of this? Don't want to get involved. Surely it should be that if of course we
It's
want to keep 11 players on the pitch, but if the player makes two tackles like that, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do. You have to go off.
I don't get the whole spoiling the game thing because if man, what happens if Kovacic stays on the pitch and ends up scoring the winner? That's spoiling the game for Arsenal because he shouldn't be on the pitch.
Yeah,
And then why did the VAR get involved in the Curtis Jones one but not this one? It doesn't. It's not just them decisions. It's like week on week out. There's the refs are just they're contradicting themselves because one week that's a definite red card. Next week we don't know about that one. And as for Howard Webb's, I would
did
say
you watch? Did you watch the VAR mic'd up on Tuesday night?
I didn't watch it, but I seen that clip of him saying, "Oh, he didn't want to embarrass the referee or something," and that there to me is just a joke. like like you mightn't want to embarrass him, but it's the rules of the game. If you make a mistake in any walk of life, your boss should come over and say, "Here." do this. You've missed this here. Go and fix it. So it doesn't make sense to me. And I think it was David Ornstein was talking on Sky, and he was saying it feels very pally. They all have nicknames for each other. They're all calling each other.
It doesn't seem very professional.
No, it's sort of just Mitch Ritz at this point, and it's worrying because people are saying who wins the Premier League, and I was watching something and I was saying the team who wins the Premier League is the team who's going to get the less dodgy decisions.
I mean, did you watch the Gusto incident?
I seen the
the Gusto. No, did you watch the VAR audio?
Oh no, I didn't see that. No.
Well, the VAR audio for the Gusto incident. The referee gets sent to the screen, and they show him again. Similar to what happened at Liverpool, they show him a freeze frame of the Gusto incident.
Yeah.
But the referee actually asked, "Can I see it in full speed?" That didn't happen with the Curtis Jones one. So again, we're seeing inconsistencies when they're sent to the camera. Now,
what's the
reason I'm hearing again that the reason the referee was sent the monitor again was basically what he apparently a lot of this now is what is being related from the referee to the VAR. He didn't even think it was a foul. Therefore, he's already made a clear and obvious error because it was a foul. Therefore, he's only be recommended to look at it. Whereas some of the other instances we're seeing, like the Kovacic one, the referees give a yellow card and said what he's seen and what he's told the VAR. The VAR is not allowed to re-referee the game unless it's a clear and obvious error. So, I mean, do you think that's a massive sticking point at the moment? Is the clear and obvious side of it?
They need to take that out of it because what's clear and obvious to one person isn't clear and obvious to another person, if you know what I mean. So they need to take that out of it for me. And a red card is a red card, simple as that. And for me, the Kovacic tackle was a red card. And obviously, I said the Curtis Jones one wasn't a red card, but I probably have my red tinted glasses on, and you can sort of see where that was given. But I don't care. I just want consistency. If one's a red card, the other one should be, because for me, the Kovacic one was a worse tackle.
Yeah. Let's look at the rest of the weekend's games. As we said, one's for Spurs, United, Chelsea, entertaining draw at the Amex between Brighton and Liverpool. Spurs won the early kickoff to go top of the league. I think a lot of people didn't expect them to be top for much more than a day, and then Man City get beat, so Spurs and the international break being top.
Well, joined.
I've worked it out. All they have to do is won the rest of their games and they're champions. So I mean, it's that simple, isn't it? Honestly, I mean,
nobody expected this.
Can they stick? Can they? Are Spurs? Do you think Spurs are capable of staying there? And if they ain't capable of staying there, when do you expect them to slip? We look in the next 4 games are home to Fulham, away to Palace, home to Chelsea, and away to Wolves before the international break. And then I think you'll look at games more differently because these first three spells or breaks are 4, and then that'll be the final international break. So, I mean, do you think that Spurs can come out on the international break still top the next one?
Well, obviously they can, but whether they will or not, there's enough. I said to you, the key for Spurs this season is keeping their main players like Maddison and Basuma, as we've seen, has escapades at the weekend, which was embarrassing.
Moment of madness.
But if you keep like Sarr, Basuma, Maddison, even Richarlison, as much as I banter you about him, but if you keep the key players fit, then there's no reason why he can't. But if he do pick up an injury or two, I can see it sort of not going into the top 4, but I can see slipping away from title contention. But if Spurs keep that main 11 fit, then they're as good as anyone at the minute.
And I have to say, the Basuma incident, crazy from him. And this could actually cost him in the long run because it was actually, when he got his first yellow card, he was suspended for the next game anyway because he got 5 yellow cards. Because he gets 2 yellow cards, he's now banned for the next game and goes back to 4. So, I mean, if he gets booked against Crystal, he doesn't get a 2-game ban. He gets a 1-game ban, but he's still, when he comes back against Crystal Palace, he's one more yellow card away from being banned again. So he could actually miss Chelsea if he's booked the Palace. And I think we need him in the Chelsea game. But crazy. I mean, absolutely crazy. I don't know where he thought because he's banned from my next game. He thought, I don't know, he just thought he'd take a dive and try and one on. I have to say, well done, referee, because it wasn't easy to spot. And the referee done quite well, and he spotted a foul in that game too for the Luton disallowed goal. I think he got that right as well. But I
Yep.
mean, so just in case anyone thinks we're constantly bantering, bantering refs, the referee had quite a good game
Yeah,
in the
credit.
Luton Spurs game.
Yeah, it was a good game, man.
That's actually the referee did send Van Dijk off too, and that was a good decision.
What red card was that? The Newcastle one?
Newcastle.
No, well, at the time I didn't think it was, but it was a red.
So
We still won the
the
game.
$1 million question is how many points are Spurs going to get from them next 4 games? I mean,
Who did you
it's
say it is again?
Fulham at home, Palace away, Chelsea at home, and Wolves away. Now, funny enough, they've got 4 of the strangest kickoff times you'll ever see in a row. They play Monday Night Football, Friday Night Football, Monday Night Football, Saturday 12:30.
Uh,
Possibly the 4 worst kickoff times you could have.
well, we have
Now
we have
the
half
only thing I would
12.
the
We have
only
half
thing I would
12 against Everton, for God's
half
sake.
12. The only thing I would say about this Monday Night Football, the first one, it's after an international break, and we Lexer Romero and Richarlison away. It gives them
Yes,
an
I
extra.
think. But why do we get the half 12 and we have McAllister and Nunez and Diaz? It's a joke.
But I think by the time we've played Wolves away, that'll be our third 12 game out of 12
Yeah.
games, and they'll have played two Monday night games and a Friday night game. So there's 6 bad kickoffs, you could say. But I mean, realistically, you just have to go out and perform, don't you? I mean, you can't be using that as an excuse.
It doesn't matter. I know what I'm saying, but I'm bantering, like, but it doesn't matter when you kick off. You have to win your games anytime you play, really.
So give me a quick points tally of them 4.
Um, you would expect at least 9, I would say.
I think you need to be getting at least 10. But I think 12's doable at the moment. I think if you look at them games, Fulham at home, Spurs are going to be heavy favourites.
Yeah.
Palace away will be tricky, but they're missing Eze and Elise, and Zaha's left in the summer, so their attacking threat's been completely wiped out. They obviously have some more players, but if you're looking at that, it's a great time to play Palace. Friday night, of course, it'll be the place to be bouncing, but you've got to go there and perform. Chelsea at home now. If Chelsea, I think they've got Arsenal next. If they were to go and beat Arsenal, all of a sudden, I know we're going to speak about them or not. They've won 2 in a row, but if they go and beat Arsenal, all of a sudden you're starting to think this Chelsea team's starting to click. That will be, the atmosphere at the stadium is going to be incredible. I'm lucky enough to be going to that. Pochettino returning the Spurs, Monday Night Football under the lights. That'll be hostile. And then Wolves away. I mean, I think that's tricky. I think that's possibly it could be tricky. The fact that they've done quite well. Liverpool, they could have won the game in the first half, fell apart in the second half. Beat Man City at home. We're very unlucky to lose away at United. So they've done quite well against better teams because they can sit back and counter attack. Yeah. So you think 9? No, you think they'll get 9?
Well, you should be expecting 9, but I would say you will get 9 out of them at least.
United strike lit twice. Everyone's shocked because the game was on in the pub. I was going to an engagement party on Saturday night, and we went on to watch the 3 o'clock games.
Not for yourself, no.
No, not yet. But United scored twice in injury time, and if maybe a lot of people, it wasn't a shock that weren't watching it, but trust me, Brentford didn't look like conceding. United had a lot of the ball, but didn't really create anything.
No,
like we seen with the Sheffield game, for as much as Spurs was there, and Spurs had a lot of chances, but as the game went on, they didn't look like it was going to happen. Then they get the first goal and bang, get the second, and that's happened again now. So, do you think this added time is working against teams holding on to leads? Because if you look at the clock, I think there was like 8 or 9 minutes added on. So they got the first one and they still had 6 minutes, and all of a sudden, 9 times out of 10 when an injury goal goes on injury time, there might only be a minute or 2 left, and you can maybe get seen out, but you might have 5 or 6 or 7 more minutes they hold on, and all of a sudden you get nervous because you've conceded, and that's the second time this season now we've seen 2 crazy finishes to games like that.
Even the Liverpool Spurs game, like there was like 9 minutes added on there.
Last season, yeah.
No, I'm on about this season. The 2-1.
Yeah, I'm even thinking back to last season. The Spurs scored in the 93rd and conceded in the 95th or 6th, didn't they? So
there's always drama when it comes to us, apparently. But as you say about the added time, it is hard for teams to hold on to leads now because of the added time. But the players must know there's going to be like at least 6, 7, 8 minutes added on now, so they can have no excuses really. And as for United, like, it is a big one, but we said this before.
Ten Hag was running around at the end, thumping the fusts. Do you think is that a turning point for United, or is it just pipping over the cracks?
We said that when they beat Burnley too a couple of weeks ago. Was it a turning point? And then they went and lost. Was it Galatasaray after that? then I think they lost to
Past
Brighton then
the Palace as well.
and Palace. So you don't know United, and I think after the break they have Sheffield United and Copenhagen as their next two games. So you should expect
They play Sheffield United away, Copenhagen. Oh, is it? I'm not sure. I think it may be away, and then
I
they play
think it's
Man
on.
City at home.
So for United fans, you would like to think they would win the Sheffield and the Copenhagen game and the Man City game. Like even if Man City are in poor form, I can't see United getting anything out of there.
Chelsea. I mean, I think the last time we were on one, it was just before they were going to play Fulham on the
Nah,
Monday night, and then the Burnley game. He said they were two big games, and they ended up winning them quite well. They won the first game 2-0 away to Fulham, and then they beat Burnley 4-1 after going a goal down. And that's the first time we've seen Chelsea really for a long time put a lot of goals past the team.
Yep.
Do you think as things starting to change, we've seen Brojas come back from injury, gives them up more of a focal point. He seems to have brought Cole Palmer on. He seems to be having an influence. Sterling, as we said, probably the one player that has been holding his own this season. He's looked like a new player.
Yep.
Fernandez and Casido's had a few more games. They build up that partnership. Conor Gallagher seems to be playing a wee bit more better. So are things starting to click, do you think, with Chelsea, or do you think it was just two very favourable games?
A bit of both probably. Like you can only beat what's put in front of you.
I mean,
And
Burnley are leaking goals left, right, and centre. I mean, at home they've lost. They've Villa beat 3, Spurs put 5 past them, 4 beat Chelsea,
3
3 beat Man City. They've been every team's been going there and scoring goals. That'll be a massive worry for Burnley, wouldn't it?
Because if we're going to Burnley, like they're conceding a lot of goals and they're not scoring plenty, so it will be a worry for Vince and company. But going to Chelsea, they do seem to be clicking at the minute. They seem to be getting a lot of goals and they're not conceding as much. But again, like for me, it all comes down to when they play Arsenal after the international break, and then I think they have Newcastle at some point. They have Man City, they have Spurs, they have United. So and then run games,
they've actually got quite a tough run. They've got because if
Yeah.
you look at Chelsea, have had quite a favourable start on paper, but I
Yeah.
think in their next few games they've got Arsenal at home, Newcastle away, Spurs away, Man City at home. So they've got some big ones on there.
If you ask me again after them games, we could be having a completely different conversation. But as I say, like you can only beat what's put in front of you, and they've done that well with Fulham and Burnley. But once they get into the tougher fixtures, we'll see what they're made of.
The first part of Super Sunday was quite entertaining. Brighton and Liverpool drew 2-2. I mean, Brighton started strong, mistake from McAllister, and Brighton score. And I mean, really, Brighton could have been 2 up, and then Liverpool sort of bang, penalty and goal, and they went on 2-1 at half time, and you kind of felt they were quite fortunate. Second half kicks off, and really the game should be over. Liverpool have a great chance to kill the game. And then I thought, Liverpool were much better in the second half on the ball, and then Brighton come under it. And then you were thinking, could Brighton win it? And then towards the end, Liverpool seemed to be the team looking like the second half swung a lot. It was a game that swung a lot from back to the front. Two good teams, always trying to win. And I think in the end, the draw was probably the fair result. But I mean, what did you think of this game?
As you say, at the start of it, Brighton seemed to, I think if we're talking about Liverpool in general, before I get into the game, we need to fix McAllister out of the number 6. He is not a number 6. We need to, even if he's not great, just stick Endo in there or stick Gravenberch in there. We're wasting McAllister as a number 6. Like he's an advanced midfield player, and he's good. He's good playing number 6 when you're not playing a team that's going to go at you. But when you're playing teams like Brighton, Spurs, City, he's just going to get out alive in there. But as for the game,
sorry, just before I come to the game, right? Do you not think this is on Klopp and the recruitment team now that McAllister now is being completely wasted because he was signed to play a completely different role. There's no way he was going to be envisaged as a number 6. They were searching for Casino was linked and Lavia was linked for a long time. They ended up getting Gravenberch. At the end. But that was probably more of who was available, get him on. And he's looked okay at times, Gravenberch. But again, I don't really see him playing as a 6. He may well be tried out there. But I think Bayern Munich have basically says he's not a 6. And that was why they were even willing to let him go way out. They missed out in Paulinho, but they were still letting Gravenberch go because they didn't really see him as a 6. So, I mean, before we get into the game, is that a position that's going to cost Liverpool, this season? Could that be the difference? Because they did sign Endo, but I mean, the fact that they haven't got a holding midfielder, they sign him, and he's not really playing in the Premier League games, only really in the Europa League games, tells me that he's not at the level. And from what I've seen of him, he's not a number 6 that Liverpool can rely on. He hasn't got the ability or the quality. He might be able to work hard, but for me, it's a classic case of a player that's just on there. They fall in the Europa League game. So I mean, do you think they got that part really, really wrong in the summer?
We needed, once we knew Fabinho was leaving, we needed to sign one then and there. But I was on Twitter today, and I don't remember the journalist's name, but he's a he's a South American journalist, and apparently, Andre, we were linked with over the summer. Apparently he's definitely coming in January. So whether that's true or not, we'll see. But
that's another big gamble. A player that's never played in Europe is going to be coming in. It's not. They expect to be hitting the ground running in January after playing a full season in Brazil.
Yeah. So
it's going to be a lot to ask for him to come in and hit the ground running, isn't it?
It definitely is. But we definitely needed a 6 in the summer, like a proper one. And as you say, Klopp doesn't seem to trust Endo in the Premier League games. Maybe he will now if he sees McAllister's obviously struggling in there. And I don't blame McAllister because it's not his position. He's a quality footballer, but he's being wasted in that position in the big games.
I mean, if Liverpool comes second and miss out by maybe 4 or 5 points, and it's because they've conceded maybe 20 or 30 more goals than the team above them, if it's Man City, for example, but they outscore Man City, who takes the blame for that, in your opinion? Because you can't really blame the players for not being able to because that's not their trial positions. So I mean, who would you shoulder the blame for that?
It has to be the recruitment team. It has to be. If we must,
and Klopp said to be very, very involved in that. So I mean,
he's part of the recruitment team, so he's partly to blame. But it all depends for me. And if we do get a 6 in January, and I can't see why we won't. I know he probably wants to go to Bayern, but why not go to Fulham and say, here, we'll give you money for Polina and get him in?
I mean, there's a big case to answer because you could look at this season, right? And I know Arsenal's probably they're going to be their peak season. I know they're a young team, but in terms of they had that experience last year, you'd expect them if they get in that position again with the additions they've had, they wouldn't choke. But they say they will. I mean, it's going to take a massive effort to get into that position again, where they were 5 or 6 points clear. It might be nip and tuck, and there might be a couple of other challengers. But apart from Arsenal, you could look and say Man City might never be as vulnerable. They've just done the treble. If Man City don't win the league this year and Arsenal do, Man City's going to come back next year, roaring back. It's going to be even harder for Liverpool. You'd expect Liverpool to be in the Champions League next season. Therefore, they wouldn't be able to rest as many players. You could argue that this is their time to strike. This is the best opportunity they would have had. And if they don't sign that number 6, it could be like shooting yourself in the foot. I can't look at it in a Spurs, even though from a Spurs fan's point of view, even though I don't expect us to be winning the league or challenging, this is going to be our best opportunity. Because if Man City are off it, we've no European football. If we can keep our best players fit, as you've seen with our teams over the years, Conte's first season at Chelsea, the year Leicester won the league. I don't think they would have won the league if they had European football that season. No. You could this could be our best chance as well. And I suppose you could maybe forgive Spurs because they weren't expected to be in this position. But Liverpool surely should have seen this might be the year that it could open up for us. And the argument is, even if they bring somebody in the summer, they could be up against a Man City team with 2 or 3 more superstars on it.
Like I said to you in the summer, the key positions we needed was centre midfielders, which we got, and I think Sabitzer has been the best signing for Liverpool, but I said our key positions that we really needed was a centre back and a CDM, and we got neither of them. So it is worrying, but it's a strange one because I still think we can go and beat Man City, like in a one-off game this season, and I still think we could beat Arsenal. We should have got a point against Spurs or more if the goal was allowed. So it's a strange one this season. Like it's up for grabs for anyone, in my opinion.
Yeah. Let's get into it on the season predictions. We've had 8 weeks of Premier League football. Yeah. Well, I know it's been slightly more with international breaks, but we've had 8 games. Everyone's played 8 games, so everyone's on a fair. People will argue some teams have had harder games than ours, but unfortunately, that's just the way it works until you get to 19 games. But I
think Liverpool's start has been one of the hardest.
If you look at Liverpool's next 4 games, you'd expect them to win all 4. So, I mean, this table could turn a wee bit in the next few weeks. But, I mean, who do you think will win the league? What we'll do is I'll ask you and I'll follow after. So, I mean, we've sort of spoke about some of the challengers. Man City, can't ignore them. They're going for the history run of 4 year, a four first team they won it 4 times in a row.
Yeah.
Arsenal, who just missed out last year, but look like they've strengthened. But again, Champions League football, we've seen Saka injured now. That could come back to haunt them as well. Not no fighting replacement for Saka. Liverpool, who look really really renewed in terms of how they're playing. They look the intensity's back. They look dangerous as ever going forward, but there's still a big question mark about their midfield and even if there's an injury at the back, how they would cope. And then Spurs are kind of out of unknown. It's coming out of nowhere, really. Well or not they can sustain the challenge. I mean, it would be incredible, really, if they were. Spurs maybe have the advantage of no European football, already in the League Cup. And if they keep players fit, you could argue that they have the best circumstances. But if you look at their team compared to the other three we've just mentioned, they don't have the quality of them three teams. I don't really see, I'm not being biased just on Spurs. I think Spurs are going to struggle to do it, but I don't really see anyone outside of that now. I think already United and Chelsea are too many points behind. I think Newcastle will be fairly invested in the Champions League run. And if they were getting the top four again, I think they would look at that as incredible. Yeah. So I don't really see the point in mentioning any other four, anyone else other than them four that can win it. I think everyone's kind of saying in their heads that they are the four. So who do you think and why?
I'm just going to stick with Man City. I said it from the start. And as for the why, it's just, does there need to be a way for Man City? They're just, they lost the Arsenal, and Arsenal might have the momentum, but I just think Man City are too strong overall. And I think once it hits maybe the second half of the season, I just think they'll sweep aside everyone.
I mean, how many points do you think it'll take they won it this year? I mean, we've seen it's impossible to know, but we've seen Man City get the 100 one season when they didn't really need to win it, but they got 100 anyway. The 2 years they needed to get high numbers, they beat Liverpool. They got 97. They beat your 96, and 94 they beat your 93. So
the year we won it, we got 98. I think it was
99. I think it was it 99?
I can't remember.
Something like that. So we've seen them kind of numbers. But if you look at them, you look at them seasons where you get 99 and they get 100, these were well clear. And I think you base it off the 2 years that City won it, where they had to be at their real best, and that was at 97, they beat your 96, and 94, they beat your 93. What sort of number do you have in your head if Liverpool are going to win it? Obviously we all want as many as we can, but what do you think in your head if somebody offered you now, you would tick, and you would think that that's going to be hard to beat?
85, 90.
It was 89 last year. City got they won it.
I think it'll be between 85 and 90.
And do you think that's because there's more challengers up there? They'll take points off each other.
There's more quality, and as you've seen, Arsenal didn't beat Man City once last season, and they've already won it this year. So I think it'll be, if you were to put me on a number now, I would say 87.
So you think 90 will definitely win it?
90 will definitely win it, but I think 87 could do it.
Right.
What about yourself?
It's tough because as equally as I can see what you're saying about, beating, these Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, Spurs all might start taking points off each other, and they could negate them points. You could maybe all them teams come out with shared enough, or some teams might get a couple more points than ours, but it might be fairly tight between them four. If you look at it already, Arsenal and Spurs played a draw. Spurs beat Liverpool in the last minute against 9 men, which could have went the other way. It was tight. Arsenal beat City 1-0.
Arsenal beat United too.
So if you look at these four in general, so that's the games we've seen so far, and they've all been pretty tight. And even you say some of the other games, as Arsenal United went to the wire too. Arsenal scored 2 late goals.
We drew with Chelsea as well.
So Liverpool drew with Chelsea. One each could have went either way. A lot of these games have been tight, but I think it could be balanced out with the teams at the bottom are very, very poor. I mean, Burnley, Sheffield, and Luton look like it's going to be 6 points for everybody. No, not everyone, but especially them teams we've mentioned. They'll all take 6 points off them. I think everyone will get 6 points off Bournemouth.
Everton too. You don't know what you're going to get.
Well, you don't know what you're going to get with them. There's going to be a lot of teams. I think even the Fulhams of this world, I think, are going to struggle to put it up to these. But we've seen Chelsea just sweep them aside, haven't we? So I think that these teams Fulham have done quite well to get the points they have because they've beat teams around them. But against the top teams, I think they're going to really struggle. Forest and our team as well, I think will struggle again. I know they beat Chelsea and they were lucky away United, but I think when they lost to Man City. I think when they play these other teams, they'll struggle as well. So I think that'll allow them to accumulate points. I think you're going to need more. I think you might need 90 minimum they want. Minimum, I think you might need even 92, 93. Because I think eventually what's going to happen is I think you're going to see two teams pull away come March, April time. I can't see a situation where in the last 8 games, all 4 teams are going to be 3 or 4 points between each other. I think naturally one or two will fall. What's that?
It would be good if it was like that, but
it would be good if it was like that. I think Man City will win it again. I think they'll be made to work very hard for it. I think it'll be
a final day job.
I think it could cost them the Champions League. It could even cost them the FA Cup as well. I think if Pep was the one, the Premier League this year, create that 4 years in a row history, he would be happy enough, and then maybe.
Do you think he'll leave after this year?
What's that?
Do you think Pep will leave after this year?
No, I don't. I think he'll do at least one more year. Just because I don't see where the opportunities are.
He's been linked with the England job, which
that could change, but I think he's got plenty of time to take that. Owen, who's going to make up the rest of the top 4? We both agree City are going to win it. Who's going to finish 2nd, 3rd, and 4th? And give me the order you think they're going to finish them.
So I've flip-flopped on this, but at this, as I sit here now at the minute, I'm going to go Arsenal, Liverpool, Spurs in that order.
Why do you think that?
I just think it's Arsenal and City are a wee bit a level above, and then Liverpool and Spurs are just a wee bit down. But
I tend to agree. I think Arsenal are the most likely winner if City don't win it.
There's not much. I don't think there's that much between the 3 teams fight, even the 4 teams. But I think I'll be very surprised if anyone else is in the top 4 by the end of the season, other than the 4 teams we've talked about.
Do you think 4th, the team that finishes 4th, will be a lot of points ahead of 5th?
I do. So we have the backup of the Europa League too. So if we do finish outside the top 4, if we win that, we're on it anyway. So,
I'm going to flip 3rd and 4th round. I think Spurs might actually finish 3rd, just the fact they're not in Europe. I think they will fall off, but I think 3rd. I think Liverpool will be right up behind them in 4th. Like I don't see much on it, but
who do you think is finished like from 57th then?
So I've said who just misses out. I think Newcastle are just going to be the unfortunate ones. But
do you think Newcastle will focus more on the Champions League this year?
As you see me, PSG, that's going to be a hard place to go for them teams. I think there's a good chance Newcastle could get out of that group. If they beat Dortmund at home in the next game, that gives them 7 points out of 9. They probably only need one more to get out of that group because teams are going to take points off each other. You'll not need 12 or 13 points to get out of that group. You only need 10, I think. So I think because all them teams are capable of drawing each other and whatever. So I think beating Dortmund and they're nearly there. They only need one more somewhere else. And they would have Milan to play at home, I think, in the last game. So I think if they get offered it now, beat Dortmund and then it's a shootout against Milan in the last game, won that and you're through. I think they'll take that and they will beat Milan, I think, at home. So I think depending on who they get in the draw, whoever does won't fancy going to St James's Park. That'll be tough. So you could be seeing Newcastle in the Champions League at least February or maybe even March, depending on how that goes. And I think they might just miss out in the league. The top 4 in the league, I think they might come 5th.
I actually seen Stuart Pearce on. Did you see it on Talksport? Said that he backed Newcastle. They won the league this season and he's sticking to it. So I don't know where he's.
I just don't think they'll be able to manage that. 6th place, I've got. You know what? When I thought about this today, I thought that the 3 teams I had in my head was Brighton, Chelsea, and Aston Villa. I think if it was a level playing field, Brighton would definitely finish 6th and possibly even push 5th or 4th. The fact they've got Europe too, it's going to be a hindrance to them. They haven't got the squad, a couple of injuries, and they're going to you'll see. But I think on their day they can give anyone a game, and I think Brighton could suffer the same. So I'm going to put Chelsea in there because I do think they're going to improve as the season goes on. I think they'll finish 6th. And And then 7th place, I've gone for Aston Villa. Just purely on the fact that I think
So
the
you think
Conference
United's
League.
going to be like top 10?
Well, I'll explain why I've not got them on there now, I suppose. But the reason I've put Villa just on ahead of Brighton is I think that the Europa Conference League is a lot less quality, and I think they can
Yeah,
manage that a bit better. I
yeah,
think Brighton, depending on how these next few games go, they could make a real fuss for that Europa League as well. Seeing they battle back against Marseille. Now, if Brighton did go out of that group, I think then there's a case they would definitely maybe get sixth because they could focus on the
if they
league. So there's a
finish,
lot of money getting. What's that?
if Brighton finish third in their Europa League group, do they drop down to the Conference League
Drop
again?
them to the conference, but
Yeah.
I have a feeling Brighton's going to get out of that group. Maybe in second place. So if that's why
Yeah.
I've put them below Villa, and I'm going to stick with that. So Brighton and sorry, Villa and sixth, and I've gone for Brighton and seventh. What about you? Fifth, second. Before I ask you, United fans watching, I think there's going to be a big decision made at Old Trafford after this next international break. I don't think he will survive based on the fixtures that they have. I think maybe they'll beat Sheffield, but I wouldn't be convinced. I don't really look at them. It's kind of like what reminded me of Spurs under Conte at times. Doesn't matter who we played. We've done every game. We feared like Brentford couldn't get a result there, and they were a couple of minutes away from getting one. United didn't really look like scoring. They finished the game strong. Yes, get two, but that won't happen every week. It won't. Every game's been a massive struggle. They've lost to Palace, so in my mind, they're capable of losing to anyone in that league at the moment. And there's bigger problems there. So there's bigger problems there, and I just don't see them being consistent enough. I think they will. The unfortunate thing for United fans is they'll let Ten Hag, they'll let it run on as much as they can, with the same way that they'll be all until it becomes completely untenable. And I think they could be that far behind. Whoever comes in might get a bounce, might not, but it could be so many points behind. It could be difficult. So no, I think United will be eighth at best. I don't see them being any higher than that. So what about you? Fifth, sixth, and seventh?
I'm going to go Brighton fifth. I'll agree with you. I'll go Chelsea sixth, and
Gavin's
then
saying United might script top 10, so he tends to agree.
Is he a United fan?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I think so, yes. I think he might be.
So I'm going to go Brighton fifth, Villa sixth, and I think Chelsea seventh. I just think Villa will nick into the last European spot. But I agree with you, United. They don't instill confidence in me, and I'm not a United fan. But
he is a United fan, unfortunately.
I feel your pain, but I don't feel your pain. I'm enjoying your pain.
I mean, see the Brentford. If they had lost to Brentford, they would have had a massive decision to make in this international break. And I just wonder if that result against Brentford, as big as it was to get that result for Ten Hag, will them 3 points cost them more points long run? Because I think if he had lost that, his position was under massive scrutiny. He might have survived, he might have not, but that buys him a bit more time.
If they sack Ten Hag, who do you get on? I know there's Graham Potter, but would United fans really want him?
There isn't an obvious candidate out there. No. In bottom three, how do you see finishing in the bottom three and being relegated?
The Luton, Burnley, Sheffield, just that.
Do you see anyone else being dragged under? Do you think them 3 teams will be long gone?
I think Bournemouth is one to watch. I think because I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they've won a game yet.
Nah, 3 draws they've had.
So to be honest, I think between Bournemouth and Luton, it could be a shootout to see who stays up. Because in the games I've watched, Luton, they're not great, but they seem to have fight in them, and they were very unlucky.
I think Luton at home are giving everyone a game. They were lucky in the end. Them Spurs could have been 5 up in the first 10, 15 minutes, but no, then in the end they made a fuss of it against 10 men. West Ham only won 2-1 there. Wolves, they drew 1 each. It is a difficult place to go because it's quite a tight pitch, and they are going to make the most of that. So if they're going to get any results, they have to be at home for me. I know they got their 1 away. They're 1-1 away from home with Everton. What about Everton? Can they be dragged on this, or do you think there's just too many weak teams below them that they'll be okay?
They can be dragged on it, but I do agree. I said to you earlier on in the season, I haven't seen the bottom half of the league this bad in a very long time. So I think Everton fans will be fine with that. Although I do hope we give them a tanking after the international break.
Yeah. Do you know what? I think Sheffield United are history already. I just don't see how they're going to. They've no quality.
You're
and they're
talking
trying to
about
see.
managers. I think their manager could be sacked
Aye,
soon.
well, he'd be. Well, if we're nearly halfway through this international break, and he's still here. But as you said, things could change quickly. Um,
All depends on
Burnley,
the result.
I mean, Burnley start games decent, and then they get. I mean, once they get opened up, and there's no the goals
Well,
just keep going on.
I think they were 1-0 up against Spurs, weren't they?
One up against Spurs, one up against Chelsea, one up
Yeah.
against Forest, and drew one each. They were one. They actually won up against Luton, and they ended up winning the game 2-1. But they just can't seem to hold on to leads. Play nice football, but they just can't seem to. There's no enough quality. They put the chances away when they come. You think about that chance against United. They had the post.
Yeah.
And then Luton.
You think Company could be in trouble?
Who?
Company?
Don't know, because I think they have to trust him. I mean, from where Burnley were where they are now, if I was a Burnley fan, the football they're playing is a lot more watchable. They dominated the championship last season, and if they went back down again, you'd expect them to do something similar with Company. I think they have to trust Company. But he might have a decision to make in the next few weeks in terms of how he has to adapt his style of they're signing a death warrant at championship. And Luton, as you said, just lack of quality, but there is fight and there is heart there. But unfortunately, you need quality to stay up. And I think you could be right. I don't think them three teams will go down. I think Bournemouth need to start getting results very quickly, because that decision to sack Gary O'Neill already looks like a silly one. Everton, they got a big one against Bournemouth, and they needed that. And that gives them some breathing space. I think they'll be okay. But it's not to say they won't be down there next year again, because these teams that come up aren't set in the word.
I've actually been keeping an eye on the championship, and Twitch seems to be doing very well.
Aren't they? What's that?
Twitch as well. Twitch is doing very well, so it'll be good to see them up next season.
I think if Leicester keep going, they could have the League One by Christmas, because they're blowing everyone away. EFL Cup and FA Cup winners. Now, EFL Cup's on the last 16, so this is a lot easier to pick.
We actually have Bournemouth.
Liverpool must be looking at this now as thinking we're favourites. They won this.
Well, Arsenal are still on it. Newcastle can't be slept on. So,
Newcastle, you're already assuming they're through because they drew United.
No, what? I'll say Liverpool won it. You know what? I'll give Liverpool. I'll give Liverpool a go for that. For the FA Cup, it all depends on the draw. Like, so, you know what? I'm gonna actually say Spurs for that. I don't know. I just have a feeling.
The FA Cup.
Yep.
Be great. EFL Cup. I am gonna go for. Oh, do you know what? I think if Newcastle get past United, they've every chance. Because I think they'll look at that as a chance of silver. But no, I think Liverpool's the team to beat that. I think Arsenal will continue to play weekend teams on it. I think they've got West Ham away next. Liverpool have got a favourable draw. Bournemouth away. So no, I think Liverpool look the most likely winners. FA Cup complete random because it's not even started yet. And again, I think this will depend on where teams are sitting towards the end of the season.
How seriously they take it?
I think someone like Villa could have a good run at this. So I'm going to say Aston Villa. I think Villa could be.
If Liverpool don't win the FA Cup, I would love to see even a Spurs win it, because you haven't won anything in that long. And then like a Villa or a West Ham would be good to see.
Champions League, Europa League, and Conference League. Now, the Europa League and Conference Leagues are difficult to predict because there is teams going to be dropping on that after the group stage. But
I don't even know who's on the Conference League.
What I'm going to allow you to do is I'm going to allow you to think in your head of teams that could drop on, and you can maybe name them as one if you're not convinced on the teams that are already on. So obviously the Champions League, we know the teams that are on it. Nothing can be changed there. So who do you think will win the Champions League?
I said Bayern at the start of the season, but watching their games, I'm not convinced. You know what? It could be an outside shot, but Newcastle, I think, have a chance. But I don't think they'll win it. But I'm going to go with Real Madrid.
Newcastle, they conquer Europe.
I would actually love to see it.
That would be something.
I would love to see it, but I'm going to go for Real Madrid. I think with Bellingham there,
I was thinking about Real Madrid too. You know, just the fact that Bayern look very top heavy. They look like they can score goals, but they just can't. The midfield's not as good as like you look at Madrid's midfield. It was probably the best midfield. And that's, I think, the midfields in these competitions are key. I think Man City might pull out all the stops. They won the Premier League, and that could cost them in the Champions League.
Bellingham's just
Arsenal, I
gonna.
think as well. I think Arsenal. You could be right about Newcastle. They might go. They might get to the quarterfinal, but I'm not sure they'll go any
Yeah,
further than that. I think Arsenal could make a semi-final, maybe possibly even the final, depending on. Again, this will depend on their league season.
yeah.
So there's difficult to call, but I'm going to agree with you. I think Madrid are going to bounce back the European glory. They're a famous club. They love this competition, and I
Here
think
we go.
The way Bellingham's playing. You look at
Oh,
that midfield.
breaks me heart.
Exactly. You look at that midfield: Bellingham, Modric,
I think it's.
Jamie, Valverde. The options they have on there is
I think
incredible.
Bellingham's got like 10 goals in 10 games or something.
And exactly, and they're flying. I mean, they beat a good Napoli team 3-2, so they had a wee bit of a test on there, and they've come through it. So no, I think Madrid and knockout football too. There's just something about them.
Yeah.
Nobody will want to play them.
As I know all too well.
You look last season they were ran over by Man City, but you look at the legs they brought on that midfield now, they're going to be stronger.
It's mad.
So yeah, we both agree on Real Madrid. Europa League. Now Liverpool are definitely the favourites, but could like a big fish being knocked out of the Champions League, could that change things? In the knockout stages.
Could do. It all depends. Like Dortmund or Milan, one of them is going to drop on.
United at the minute, they're up
United
against
mightn't,
that group.
United mightn't even get anything. But even if United dropped on, I wouldn't be too concerned. Like I think we beat United at the minute. But I'm going to stick with my prediction. I'm going to say we're winning the Europa League.
How many?
Liverpool-
How many? I mean, how many people do you think would travel to Dublin for the Europa League final if Liverpool were not?
if I could find a way, I'd be down there. I'd know there'd be Liverpool and Dublin, Liverpool and Ireland in general seem to have a great connection. So I'd say a lot of Reds would be down there in the final. But I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to say Liverpool. They won the Europa League.
I would nearly go as far as to say this is Liverpool's trophy to lose. I think
Yeah.
all they have to do is keep themselves honest and they'll win this.
So far,
Unless there was
Liverpool,
a freak. I mean, unless there was a freak dropout, from the Champions League.
uh,
But at the minute, Bayern Munich are cruising, Madrid are cruising,
I think we'd beat PSG.
Barcelona are cruising, Man
If,
City are going to get all these teams look like they're going to qualify even after two
yeah,
games. So I don't really
even if
see.
even if PSG dropped down, I think we'd beat them.
I wouldn't be too feared about them. But I think PSG will be all right. I think it'll be more likely AC Milan or Dortmund to drop
Yeah.
out.
I would love Dortmund, like no crop in that. That would be fun. And the last time we played them in the Europa League was a bit of a dramatic game. So
I would remember that. I was on Liverpool at the time. Europa Conference League. I mean, Villa are on it.
I
Brighton
couldn't
maybe could drop on it.
I
But
couldn't tell you who's on it, so I'm just going to say Aston Villa. They won.
I think Brighton would have something to say about that if they drop down to it.
Yeah,
West Ham seem to be cruising in the Europa League too. They seem to be all right.
I forgot West Ham.
I think one of the English teams are bound to win that. So I'll go for Brighton. I think Brighton maybe.
If Brighton drop down,
Mm.
if Brighton drop down, I think they'll win it. But
I know
as
what
it
says there
stands,
now. Thinking they might be second, but it'll be tight.
um,
So if they drop down, I think they might win that.
I agree with you. If Brighton drop down, I think they'll win it. But as it stands at the minute, I'm going to go with Aston Villa to win the Conference League.
So let's get on the international mode.
Uh,
Ireland have two big games coming up. I mean, do they have any hope of can they win these two games against Greece and Gibraltar?
I mean,
They're must wins. They keep their Europe. I mean, if you don't beat Greece, it's pretty much all over.
yeah.
They'll be out before the Gibraltar game even kicks off. I'm hearing. So, I mean, can they beat Greece at home? That's probably the one that's going to be Gibraltar. Everyone's beating them. So I mean, if they can't, even Ireland on their dark days have managed to beat Gibraltar a number of times.
I think I could beat Gibraltar up front. Like I'd bag a few. No, we have to beat Greece. Like there's no other option. But will we beat Greece? It's touch and go. Like, but
I think this is where we're at. We're debating whether we can beat Greece at home. That's kind of.
It's if I was to put my prediction on now, I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw. I can't say it's getting the one.
So you think Gibraltar will be irrelevant then?
Aye.
I mean, the fact that Ferguson's back though, he might give them a bit more hope. Against a team like Greece, can he come in and make a difference?
Obviously, like he didn't really play well against Liverpool on Sunday, but I think up against Greece, like if you have a player like Evan Ferguson, you always have hope. It's sort of a sad state of affairs. They were Irish football is. We're pinning our hopes on a 17, 18-year-old
18, I
They,
think, is there?
they dig us out of a hole, but I don't know. I'm sticking with me 1-1. I just hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully we get the result, but I can't see it.
If we don't beat Greece, or even worse, lose to Greece, we've come out of this campaign. Basically, we've only haven't beaten Gibraltar.
That's
I mean,
shocking.
would that be rock bottom for you in terms of where Irish football is at the month? If you can't get a result against Greece over 2 games?
Oh, 100%. I think no matter what happens in these 2 games, I think Kenny's gone. Like, but
I mean,
well,
do you think he's only, or you're saying you think he's in trouble anyway, but do you think his only chance to keep his job? They won the last 3 games, which, as you said, Greece at home, Gibraltar away, and then having the daunting trip away to Holland in the last game,
yeah.
which will be very difficult. But
I
say he does perform. I mean, and the fact, and this is the killer. There's a chance they could win them 3 games and not qualify, because I
Yep.
think there's a strong possibility even if we beat the Holland, they could still get 13 points and knock us out. But there is a situation where Holland, Greece, and Ireland could all finish in the same points. And that
what would
could
happen?
cause,
Like
I'm
a
not
playoff
sure.
thing?
Well, I think then I don't know how they do the head to head, because they'd all would have taken points off each other. But I mean,
Yeah.
if Ireland were to beat Greece by more than 1 goal, they would have the head to head on them.
Yeah.
And Holland that only beat Ireland by a goal. So again, that's not to say, Ireland going into Holland and 1-2 would be something, but if they could beat them by 1 goal, even I think they would have a chance on goal. It depends on goal difference. They could really do be putting a few past Gibraltar away, but
Well,
even
we
when
have
we've played Gibraltar, we've not beat them by many. It's been
to,
1 goals and 2 goals. We've never really smashed them. So
we have to be going tomorrow night and just trying to kill Greece, because as much as we're not great, they're not great. They're like, I'm not going to lie. The only Greek player I know is Kostas Simikas, and that's only because he plays for Liverpool, and that tells you a lot. So, but no,
Gus Poyet's the manager, but as much as I know as well, but
Gus
Greece will
Poyet.
still the problem. Like, Greece will still feel they can qualify, because they've got obviously Ireland away, which still they'll fancy themselves. They play Holland at home, so they'll still feel they've got every chance. So
What
I
do you
mean,
think? Do you think we'll win tomorrow?
well, I'm hoping so. I'm going
Yeah.
out to Portugal on Monday for the Gibraltar game. So I'm hoping we go out there with some chance that we're still on it.
Yeah.
Because if we don't win this game, there's a good chance we're going to be out by kickoff. So
Yeah.
um, it's going to be tight. I think it'll be very, very tight. But I just think we might do it at home. I think the Irish crowd will be right behind them.
I,
And
oh,
I think we might get 6 points, and it might give us an outside chance going to Holland.
if we do qualify, it'll be a miracle. Like,
If he did qualify, would you keep him on then? But
no, he still has to go for me. I'm sorry. It's just
you would sack him if he got out of a group with France and Holland on it. Now, as unlikely as it is the minute,
no,
that would
like
be very, very harsh.
it is harsh, but he's just not good enough. I'm sorry.
So, right, tell me who we should go for instead. If
For
Kenny is
me,
to be sacked, and I mean it's very unlikely he wins them last 3 games. I would say nigh on impossible he wins them. He's only won 6 competitive games, so 1 and 3 in a row is going to be very difficult, even if it is 2 of them against teams we're expected to beat. I mean, who are the options for you? I mean, who would you like to see come on?
I would give Damien Duff a shot. He seems to be doing well. He seems to be doing well with Shelburne, and I know it's a big step up, but why not? And then there's your man who
But is
does
that not
the.
what they try to be Kenny, but and he had
Yes,
more League of Ireland experience,
and then there's Lee Carsley as well. So
and
he
then he
seems.
came from the same background as Kenny, didn't he, with under 21.
And
So,
then
but you think that's the problem at the moment? That's what our options are. They're very limited.
and if I was to pick a dream choice that I don't think would happen, would be Graham Potter.
What
But
about Brenton Rodgers?
I mean, would he leave Celtic to take the Republic job?
No, possibly not. But I mean, would you went for him in the summer?
Oh, 100%. Like, if you can get a manager, as much as I don't really rate Brendan Rodgers, like, but he's a good coach and he'd be good for Ireland, I think.
Well, the one positive we can take from this, right, is we're going to speak about this in a minute, the Euro 2028. But before that, we've got the World Cup in America, and it has been it's the first World Cup. It's going to have 48 teams in it, which a lot of neutrals and teams or better teams will just say it's more crap teams getting on it. But Ireland are a crap team at the minute. So I mean,
If we don't qualify for that, I give up.
I mean that'll give us more hope. So I mean, building up the Euro 2028, this has to be now. The next manager coming in, I mean, it's got to be the right appointment because we've got the chance of getting to America, which is
Yeah,
as we said, the 48 teams on it. The first World Cup with 48 teams, so
it's
there's
in
more.
Canada and America, isn't it?
It's in Canada, America, and Mexico.
Mexico.
So that'll be fantastic as well. You know,
Yeah,
I mean, I remember all the stories hearing about America '94 was credible. Just after an
yeah,
Italian '90, they were two of the biggest famous World Cups. Um, and I mean, you look at this now. If you get a manager on and he's got these two competitive competitions they look forward to, it's probably the best time to be a Ireland coach. And I mean, they haven't got the players, but I mean, in terms of the tournaments, I mean, you couldn't ask for better than that. So I mean,
we have to
what do you
be.
think? What do you think about, are we going to have a better chance at qualifying when there's more teams getting through? I mean, I think in the end, the Europe are going to be slightly, because we already have so many spots. I think there might only be an hour additional 2 or 3, but still a better chance. And then
Yeah,
the fact that um, football's coming to the UK and Ireland in 2028 for the Euros.
yeah.
Again, we're gonna see a situation where there's going to be maybe a bit more better chance of qualifying. So I mean, they've got to get this next appointment right.
100%. I would be shocked if we're not at the next two tournaments after Euros this summer. We have to.
Think
We
so?
have to. We have to be like, especially because we're hosting the next Euros. Like, we have to be
Mm.
at it. And then the World Cup, as you say, we might have only 2, 3 extra spots, but it's better than nothing. And
It's nearly
we're
harder
not.
to not qualify, isn't it? This is the thing,
Nah,
and we're still not making it. So
it's shocking, but
it would be
I
embarrassing if we didn't make these two tournaments, wouldn't it?
it would be like, obviously they have better players than us, but look at how far Scotland have come. They were a joke
I
for,
think they need a draw tonight to secure their place away to Spain.
as a
You know
kick
that.
off.
Well, half an hour. I'm just going to check here.
That's what I'm doing myself.
There's something about 0-0, so a job done so far. Another 60
Mm,
minutes, and they're going to be qualified. So, I mean, you look at their group, it's Spain and Norway in it, so no real excuse.
no, and it's like they were a joke for football years ago, and they've risen from it. So there's no excuse for Ireland not to be doing the same in the next 5 to 10 years.
So, I mean, Euro 2028 was announced on Tuesday, coming to the UK. That's England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, as well as it's coming to Ireland as well. UK and Ireland.
Reckon the brother will get a few games.
Well, that's a story for another day. But I mean, huge moment because the UK haven't hosted. I know they had a couple of games for the shared tournament, but since the England '96, the Euros again was a very famous European championship. You could argue the infrastructure in the UK is as good as anywhere in the world. English football at the minute is the most watched sport in the world. It's
Yep.
huge. Everybody, managers, players, foreigners, all want to. We have Stefan on here from Bulgaria at times. Loves the Premier League. And we couldn't tell you a thing about Bulgarian football. So I mean
No.
that this is how big it is. And it's been a long time coming. And the fact that Ireland's been included in this as well with the UK, I mean, how big do you think this is? And do you think it'll be a success?
Oh, I think obviously it's years away yet, but it's exciting times to be a UK football fan or an Irish football fan, and like, it will be a success. It has to be. Obviously, we've seen UEFA and talking to England about what happened at Euro 2020 and the trouble they had at that. So it'll be interesting to see if there's more measures put in place so that doesn't happen. And I hope it doesn't happen because
Do you think that the main bulk of the trouble, if there is any trouble, will come in England?
it's hard to say, but you don't want to that's going down our rabbit hole, really, isn't it? We Irish fans and English fans. So, but it seems to be either England or even Italy at a certain point has a lot of trouble in it. You see we English fans going over to Italy. There's always trouble there. So
I mean,
uh,
UEFA have got to get the Euros 2024 right because they've made a hash of the two last Champions League finals. There's been bother at them. We not so much fans, it's been security and stuff. So, I mean, they've
the
got to get
Euro
these right.
2020 wasn't great either.
No. Dublin already hosts 6 games. Belfast, they host 5. And that's in the hope that Casement Park gets sorted out. But again,
Yeah.
we're not going to get into politics too much on the show. But, I mean, what do you think the chances are of these two making it through qualifying? I mean, both of them haven't played in a major tournament since Euro 2016, and that was the Republic's first time since 2012, and before that it was 2002. And Northern Ireland, that was their first time playing in any competition for a long time. So they're not serial, they're not serial contestants in these tournaments usually. They're both very unlikely. They're both going to make Euro 2024. I think Northern Ireland are as good as out, and Ireland by the end of this weekend could definitely be following them. So I mean, what chance do they have of making it through on their own?
It's hard because you don't know what the teams are going to look like when qualifying comes around. So it all depends
just by pedigree. I mean, they're well down the rankings as well.
It all depends on like who we draw in the group as well. They could get easy draws or easiest draws. They could get hard draws. It all comes down to luck as well. At the end of the day,
this hasn't been confirmed yet, but it is something that's being looked at. Do you think this could be the golden goose for both of them? There's the talk of, because there's 5 teams hosting, they can't let all 5 automatically through. There is talk that there will be 2 insurance places, and therefore if 3 of the 5 hosting it qualified, the other 2 would get automatically in, despite not qualifying from their groups. I mean, do you think the best hope for Ireland and Northern Ireland is if England, Scotland, and Wales just sail through their groups?
I would say that's the most likely scenario for both, because both don't have, like, if I was to give
England definitely got. I mean, England, unless something goes tragically wrong, they're going to make it. Scotland seem to be on the up. Wales at the minute, and they're up against it. They're up against it to qualify. So I mean, England are the only real bankers. So I was actually, if England were the only team out of the 5 to qualify, the 2 insurance places would go to the 2 teams that finish highest in their groups. So I mean, again, that's not guaranteeing any of them. So surely we're all going to be supporting our home nations in Euro 2028 qualifying.
100%. It would be such a shame for. Obviously, I'm not a Northern Ireland football supporter, but it would be such a shame for them and for both of us to have places to go and watch football, but neither team's in it.
Yeah.
So you would like to see. Obviously, if it came down to one, I would want the Republic to qualify over them, but you would like to see both of them there.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think if all 5 were playing, it would make it extra special. And you would, and I was reading, you'd play your 3 group games at home. So Northern Ireland will play their 3 games at Casement Park. Ireland will play their 3 games in Aviva, and so on and so forth. So I mean, that would give them a wee bit of an advantage too. But I mean, let's hope, fingers crossed, it's a long way off, and let's hope we see some rising talent coming out in the next few years. Owen, it's been a great show. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to try and catch the second half of the Scotland game now against Spain. Looking forward to Ireland-Greece tomorrow night. Hopefully get the one. And then I'll be setting off to Portugal on Monday morning with every expectation to beat Gilbraltar. And then you never know. But if we manage to take it to the last game against Holland, you know what? That'll give us something to look forward to in November. Because these international breaks are tough, especially when your club team's performing pretty well. So Owen, thanks for coming on again, and I'll see you again soon. And obviously, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and like the video as well. Pleasure as always, Owen. Thank you.
Thank you.